Hello everybody, Josh Gary from JoshG.tv again with this episode of In Review. This time I got a video game review for you. This is for the Star Wars The Clone Wars Republic Heroes. Now I'm going to go ahead and say yes, that is an extremely long title, but they had to let you know that it was a Star Wars game and it is based on the Clone Wars CGI kind of animated television show, and the name of the game is actually The Republic Heroes. Now, the story kind of takes place between Season 1 and Season 2 of the Cartoon Network CGI animated series. Now, if you like the show, you're going to like the game because it has the same voice actors from the show, and it kind of follows along the same line as far as the storylines and the action that takes place. Some of the positives of the game is that the main story is actually pretty long, and that's pretty good, because it allows you to enjoy the story, and it kind of flip-flops between different storylines that are going on, similar to how the show does. There's like two lines of story going on at the same time, and it'll jump back and forth, and it kind of converges together. It's actually done pretty well. Another of the positives is that once you actually beat the game the first time, you are allowed to go back and play each of the different levels, like if you miss some of the challenges or some of the collectibles and such, and you can play it as any character that is playable in the game. So for instance, let's say you go through one level the first time as Anakin Skywalker, you can go through it the second time as Obi-Wan or Ahsoka or Plo Koon, however you want to do it. My favorite, you get to go back through the clone type missions as Cad Bane. Now, some of the negatives of this game are pretty big. They were enough that if it weren't for the story and that I'm such a Star Wars nerd to begin with, I definitely would not like the game. At times they were so aggravating that I actually had to cut the game off. There's a little bit of platforming that you have to do in some of the Jedi levels, and there are quite a few times where you're going to say some expletives and some four-letter words just simply because you should have been able to make it, or because of having to jump off a wall or something and you fall to your death. Fortunately, there's no finite number of lives. You can do it as many times as you want and continue, so it's not like if you die 8 times in one spot you have to start the whole level over, which is very nice. Some of the Jedi levels are just flat-out button mashing, which is kind of cool, because those were the staple of the arcades in like the late 80s and the early 90s was button mashing, so that's good. Now you have your clone levels where you run around as a clone trooper. I thought the controls and the aiming for the clone troopers was a little off. You move with the left stick and you shoot with the right stick. Yeah, it's really weird. Like, you point the right stick in the direction that you want to shoot in, and sometimes because of where the camera is, it kind of throws that off, and you're kind of like shooting 2 feet to the left of really where you want to. But overall, the clone levels are a lot more fun than the Jedi levels, I think. Some of the achievements in the game, achievements, trophies, whichever platform you decide to play it on, are tied to the fact that you have to play levels multiple times and with different characters. So there's definitely some replay value if you were a trophy or an achievement hunter. In the end, I found it hard to give this one a score, just simply because I am such a Star Wars fan. I did enjoy some aspects of it, but some of the holes, some of the glitches and things that were just really problematic through the game made it really hard for me to give it a good score. So basically, I'm going to have to give it a 2.5 G. I would love to have given it a lot better, but some of the glaring problems, some of the glitches, falling through the floor, I just really couldn't get past. Even though it had an awesome story, the original actors from the show, I just couldn't give it any better score than that. This has been Josh Gary from JoshG.tv on this episode of In Review, Star Wars, The Clone Wars, Republic Heroes.